And good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast, where, of course, yours truly, Charles Prodigy Richey. Steelers going into the Jacksonville Jaguars, entering this game at 9-0 right now. Needless to say, the best start of their season ever in franchise history. Steelers will be looking to pick up their 10th straight victory here, going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And up until the rivalry, since they came into the league in 1995, Steelers all-time versus the Jacksonville Jaguars in their head-to-head matchups. They are 12-12. They're 500, but 12-14 career-wise, including the playoffs, as I mentioned earlier in the week. And we're going to see how much ready this team is. Trying to take that next step and take it one game at a time. As you heard, Mike Tomlin, for any views who got to see the Mike Tomlin show on YouTube here, don't get me wrong. He's acknowledging the fact that they're 9-0 and what they've been doing to get to that level, get to that stage at this point. So we tend to look at it right now and see. But here's the thing right now as we take a look at it. I think right now when we look at the Steelers here, they try and move forward and try and have a spectacular start to their season right now. Dream season, nonetheless, call it what it is. But they are playing with some intense football right now, some great play. At the same time, too, we already know there's no secret about it that the Jacksonville Jaguars are one of those pesky teams to the Steelers. They've been a thorn in their side. No need to remind Steelers fans. When you look at a guy like Mike Tomlin in his career versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, when you take a look at everything, he is 4-2, including the playoffs, ever since he's coached them. Remember, his first victory against the Jaguars was back on Sunday Night Football back in 2008, which, by the way, the Steelers, since then, since playing in Jacksonville, they've been 3-0, playing in 2008, 2014, and 2018. So, you look at what's going to happen in today's contest as we look at it. How they're going to be able to, ever since he's coached them. Remember, his first victory against the Jaguars was back on Sunday Night Football here. And just try and make some impressive strides as they move along here. I really feel like this is a team right now when we look at it. At the end of the day, they're trying to make their mark, trying to cap it off with a championship season, which I understand. But at the same time, too, this is the thing right here. You still got to take care of business, obviously. They've been hearing enough, throughout the time that no need to remind them that this is a trap game. But at the same time, too, where do you really look at it and how you just see where this team's focus is at as they try and get a grip on things right now. Now, let's get into some little roster updates real quickly as we get ready to move along here. It was reported by Steelers reporter Missy Matthews that the Steelers, they have activated defensive lineman Chris Wormley today. He returned to practice this week after being on IR. He suffered a knee injury back in week 7 at Tennessee. Now, how significant is that? Only time will tell and find out how that's going to be to shore up on that defensive line here, on that defensive front. Chris Wormley, who right now, who's been coming with the Steelers, and when you look at everything, the contributions that he has been able to make here, throughout this year here, Chris Wormley, for his time at this point, you really start to look at this guy real closely here. Remember, Chris Wormley, like I said, he's only got 3 total combined tackles right now for the year, 1 assisted, and 1 solo, 2 assisted here, and only right now 2 quarterback hits. So, you look at this Steelers, the defensive line, no secret about it, has been banged up the last couple of weeks. And as you take a look at the Steelers versus the Jaguars in their matchup right now, speaking of the defense, when we take a look at things, remember, their run defense right now has dropped significantly, little by little, over the last few weeks after being gashed by the Ravens, the Cowboys, and somewhat of the Bengals last week. And even though it was a convincing victory last week, the Bengals were still able to get a lot of yards on the ground rushing. And so, I mean, right now the Steelers' run defense ranks 8th at this point. And you got the Jaguars right now who ranks 23rd. But the Steelers' defensive line, other than that, I mean, they're still doing a pretty solid, good job as far as like stuffing opponents, stuffing run games. They're third in that department and about 24.5%. And that's just where it is right now. I feel when you look at everything going on here and you look at the overall, like the defensive line coach on this team here, as we look at it, I mean, and when you look at as far as like with Carl Dunbar, who's been the defensive lineman here for the Steelers, 14 years. I mean, I think he's been like one of the most impressive coaches, along with Carol Austin out here. I think this year, when you flip it to the opposite side of the ball, I think the one guy who's definitely been impressive so far has been Matt Galla right now. He's been a huge help, I think, as far as like assisting like this offense, keeping the flow going here, trying to make some splash plays here or there, make it easier for a guy like Ben Roethlisberger. I like the creativity a lot better. I mean, if the offense, they're trying to prove they're not one-dimensional, but at the same time, too, they are able to get some trick plays, running the ball with some receivers at the end of the day, and this is what they're all capable of doing. I just feel in this game right here, when you look at it, too, the running game, this is right now an opportunity to seize expanding that. Now, that's going to be the interesting thing right now. Will the Steelers in today's game be able to find a way to run the ball effectively? Will they be able to kind of get some rhythm going in? I mean, right now, this is going to be an interesting week right now. It could be real tricky for them. I mean, you got to play against the Jaguars today. I mean, I think it should be a winnable game. But again, the Steelers, the last couple of times, they've been down in Jacksonville, as I just mentioned a few moments ago. I mean, yeah, they're 3-0 in Jacksonville since Tomlin's been the head coach. He's been undefeated there. But, I mean, when you look at the point differential, I mean, by the times they've been beating these teams, they've been beating them each game one possession score. There was only one game where it was a full possession touchdown, and that was back in 2014 where they won that game 17-9. I believe there was a pick 6 in that game, like pretty much sealed up right there. And that's why I look at right there. I mean, at that point, I mean, when you look at it, and yeah, I mean, that's just bottom line right here. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on today right now. As we look at it, what's your thoughts? Feel free to leave me some comments. How do you feel about this game going on right now? How confident are you feeling about picking up a 10th streak victory? Are a lot of you people living in your fears right now? I mean, when we look at everything. I mean, seriously, I want to know your thoughts. I want to just see, I mean, what you guys actually feel going into this game. What needs to be better here? That needs to shape up here, and we'll find out. But anyway, feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. You can definitely do so by following me on Twitter at MassDealCGR, at MassDealNation on Instagram as we take a look at. And right now, we take a look at a lot of things. I mean, going into this group, and we'll find out. So let's take this a little bit day by day right now here for the season. Because I remember, the thing is, too, when you look at the rest of this season right now, I mean, like I said, you got the Jaguars, and then you got the Bengals, which would be your next road game. I mean, or no, the Bills. So the Jaguars, the Bills, the Bengals, and then you got to finish up with the Browns. So 4 out of the remaining 7 games will be on the road. And I think this could be a very tested team down the stretch here. And I know there's been a lot of arguments right now. And Bob Pompeani of 93.7 The Fan was also one of the many people who brought this up. I mean, do you start to rest some of your guys in case the Steelers do happen to clinch their division early and get the number one seed? Because the number one seed in the AFC is still on the line right now. I mean, you got the Vegas Raiders hosting the Kansas City Chiefs tonight on Sunday Night Football at 7:15 p.m. I mean, that sounds like it's going to be a good game right there. I mean, that contest, when you really think about it right there, and I got to tell you, I'm really, for whatever reason, I'm liking the Raiders in that game at home and Sunday Night Football at Las Vegas. I know they've been hit with a lot of COVID violations, for mass violations, but still, when you take a look at the end of the day right now for that contest, I mean, going into it, I mean, for that game right now, you got the Chiefs still favored by a touchdown. I mean, -7. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be one of those people who totally agrees with that decision, but I do believe at the end of the day, too, this will be a team that's going to come out fighting. I mean, you got the running game right there with Josh Jacobs right there. I mean, Gruen is really seeming to find a solid piece to slowly replace over a guy like Khalil Mack. And I mean, it took a little while to really turn things around. You're really starting to see this Raiders team right now when you really dissect them at the end of the day too. And for this game, I mean, which is really good. I mean, the Raiders right now, I mean, for everything that they've been able to accomplish, they're ninth in the league as far as running back yards. I think per game, per attempt, 4.41, which is pretty good, pretty darn good according to Football Outsiders right now. As we look at it, and yeah, I really feel like for right now, when you look at a lot of things going on right now, I mean, you still got Josh Jacobs. He's fourth in the league with 700 yards for the year on the ground. So we're going to get into my keys of the game in just a second here, but for those of you who are welcoming, joining in, you can catch me streaming live right now on Facebook and Instagram. You can check out my Facebook and Instagram pages, Men of Steel Podcast. If you wish to follow them, you can definitely follow them at Men of Steel Nation. Let's get to some other topics as we get ready to move along for this game right now. As mentioned by Bob Labriola on Friday, the Jaguars have placed starting cornerback C.J. Henderson on IR. Today they ruled starting wide receiver in this contest here, Laviska Shenault, hamstring, and starting tight end James Shaughnessy, knee, out of Sunday's game versus the Steelers. And speaking of the injury report, too, the rest of the Jaguars players right now, who we look at it, I mean, aside from Laviska Shenault and James O'Shaughnessy, they have two players that are questionable. You got quarterback Sidney Jones, who's dealing with an Achilles, and wide receiver Colin Johnson, hamstring, they are questionable. And that's the situation we're in right now as we look at things. But I want to hear your thoughts. Share with me. And then for the Steelers side, for their injury report, they're going to be without running back Trey Edmonds, who's dealing with a hamstring injury, Jalen Samuels, quadriceps, and outside linebacker Jaron Elliott, dealing with an illness. And as far as we know, I mean, with the Steelers too, I mean, so far the COVID situation, as far as who is on the COVID reserve list right now for the season, which has been implemented, still stands at Kevin Dotson and Vance McDonald. And I just hope no one else is going to continue to get sick or disrupt any momentum that this team is having throughout the year, because the only other guy that's dealing with an illness is J-Ron Elliott, as we just mentioned, and of course, Anthony McFarland. Anthony McFarland, he has been a full participant, however, for this game going into this contest here. So we'll see what Anthony McFarland could do behind a guy like James Conner. See if he's going to be able to make somewhat of a difference at all. And we'll find out for the Steelers versus Jaguars here as we get ready to count down a little bit closer. To Bob Pompeani of KDKA Pittsburgh and 93.7 The Fan, who hosts the Bob Pompeani Show. And of course, for point two with YouTube right now throughout the week. Post-game shows for the Steelers right there. He mentioned that Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger still holds the record for most consecutive wins to begin a career. He has 13. Then he had Steelers quarterback Mike Krzyzewski in 1976 with 6. And then Tua Tagovailoa right now, he goes for number 5 today. Now, the Miami Dolphins today, they're going to be facing the Denver Broncos in Denver right there. We see how that game is going to fare for that contest, but I'd really be interested to see how he does down there. That game is going to be on at 3:05 p.m. Central Standard Time, and it'll be interesting to see what the weather's going to be like right there for the Dolphins in that contest here. And, Tua Tagovailoa, he definitely seems to be like the real deal so far since entering the league. And I got to tell you right now, Tua Tagovailoa, for his first few starts that he's been doing, he's been having a lot of good momentum so far. He's passed for his career high 248 yards in the win versus the Cardinals a couple of weeks ago, where he had 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He had 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions once again last week against the Chargers at home in Miami. So we'll see how this one's going to be for this contest here. It's going to really be an interesting tale of the tape right there. But I'm supposed to remind you, too, about a guy like Ben Roethlisberger. Is he going to necessarily finish out his career with the Steelers? As far as like his contract, he's going to be extending. Is he going to play beyond the season? Still the talk, if he wins a Super Bowl, does he go out on top? I'll be honest with you, I would not be surprised if he decides to play one more year if he wins another Super Bowl. I think the competitor in him still wants to be around, but it's kind of hard to really picture that when you still said about 4 years ago, you had to look at your health, but now he seems like he's comfortable with the pieces around him. It just seems like there's just about a lot of weight lifted off him as far as like teammates, the chemistry, the cohesion, and everything else that's been going on around this guy. And he just seems like a reborn quarterback right now. The only problem I have with Ben, when you look at his all-time career numbers from everything that he's been doing, and more particularly, too, this guy, when he is on the road here, when he plays, with the Steelers all time, pulling it up right now. On the road, when he passes for 30 more attempts, he has 3 games above 500, 40 and 37. And then when he seems to keep it between just that 30 attempts, no more, 15 to 30 passing attempts, he has 27 games above 500, 34 and 7 record. And he's also on that list, too. He's got 62 touchdowns and 22 interceptions. Which is pretty decent. So, there you have it right there. Right now, I would expect this to be a game where he decides to take it a little bit easy right now. Goes a little bit easy on his arm. And hopefully the offensive line will be able to open up a lot better. And to be honest, you speaking of the offensive line, I heard there was a post by a friend of mine who I'm connected with. I'm not going to say names, but just wanted to know if the Steelers or the Browns offensive line is better. And I got to tell you, I'm going to go ahead and give it to the Cleveland Browns right now. I mean, the Steelers is just mainly just doing a better job as far as like protecting the quarterback. That's great. I mean, the Browns right now have the edge. I mean, simply for the running game, they're third in that department. And as far as being stuffed at the line of scrimmage, when you take a look at it, I mean, the Browns, for that matter, they're towards the bottom of the league in that category. They're 22nd as far as being stuffed. They only get stuffed like maybe like nearly 70% of the time. Versus the Steelers, they're getting stuffed about 19%. And at that point in time, too, that is ninth. But you have to correct that. You have to make sure you get a lot more better in that department. We'll find out. I mean, will this finally be the time where Matt Canada, along with Randy Fichtner, decides to get a lot more creative, a lot more aggressive in the run game here going into this contest? And I just got a lot of question marks because I'll be honest with you, too. I mean, one guy who I feel like I'm not really impressed with the last few years, I mean, you really got to look at going forward. And I doubt this is going to happen, but when you look at it, I mean, on the running game, Eddie Faulkner, who's been there for the last 2 years, the running game's been pretty sloppy. I'd really be interested to see if the Steelers will decide to move on from him next year, like get a new running back coach. Because I think he came in and replaced the guy that was the running back coach for when Le'Veon Bell was there. That's a sad reality at the end of the day for this team here, which definitely could be a lot better in much more ways. So let's go ahead and get right into here. Let's go ahead and get ready to wrap this up. Keys to the game for this contest. Key number one is going to be containing James Robinson. And I heard this from Arthur Moats and the Steel Twins right there. I definitely agree with both of them. And I saw for myself, James Robinson, this could be a dangerous man today. Simply because he's got 917 yards. 917 yards of scrimmage off of 184 touches. I mean, this guy is pretty lethal right here. I mean, going into this contest, when you look at it. I mean, for the most part, too, I mean, with this guy on this for like the yards of scrimmage, I mean, James Robinson, I mean, he is averaging about 5 yards total, which is pretty phenomenal. I mean, he leads his team in total touchdowns with 7. And can definitely be like a guy that could keep them in ball games. And where the Steelers got to be careful at, too, when you're going up against a team like the Jaguars right now, you want to make sure you still maintain time of possession right here in this contest. The Steelers are 7th in that game, or 7th in that category, but controlling it nearly 32 minutes a game. So James Robinson, he should be a key right there. I look for him to see how he's going to be going up against a guy like Tyson Alittle. And we'll see about Chris Wormley if he's going to be able to be activated today for this contest here. I mean, in this game. I mean, that's one thing. And then not only that, too. I mean, also him trying to challenge, like, not only that, I'd probably say Cam Hayward. I mean, I'm looking at those guys, especially Tyson Alittle right now. I mean, he just barely came back last week. Seemed to do all right. I mean, the previous game against the Bengals at home. Tyson Alittle in that Tyson Alittle in that contest for the Steelers. He finished up for the day in that contest. First, the Bengals here. And we'll get back to that. He had 3 total combined tackles in that game, along with 1 solo, 2 assisted. So this is a guy who's slowly warming up. Find out. So definitely take care of James Robinson. At 689 yards on the ground off 155 carries, averaging nearly 4.5 yards per attempt. He's got 228 yards off 29 receptions. Key number 2 for this contest, Steelers offensive line. And more in particular on the Steelers offensive line, I'm going to definitely be focusing my attention when you really look at it. I'm going to be looking at guys like Alejandro Villanueva and Chukwuma Okorafor, looking to try and open up holes for the run game. You need to find a better job. They're doing a fantastic job protecting Ben, but as Stan Savran, who I had my show earlier in the year, he was wanting to see his Steelers get a guy like a mulling offensive lineman, a guy that could impose their will on opposing defenses. So far, we have not seen that happen. So I'm hoping today will be the case for that. Key number 3 for this game, play disciplined football and defense. The Steelers are ranked 9th with 57 penalties for 561 yards. That's one of the things with the Steelers. If anything, where we get concerned with a team, when you look at a Keith Butler defensive-led team, is their discipline on some penalties right there where they get themselves in trouble. And then last but not least, punt return coverage. Jaguars due to Keelan Cole are first in yards per return with 16 and ranked second with 1 touchdown. Steelers, in the meanwhile, in their special teams versus the Jaguars in this contest, they are third in punt returns, averaging 12.4 yards, while the Jaguars rank first with 16. So I'm looking hopefully for maybe a guy like Raven McLeod to probably take one to the house, and we'll see how that goes. And that's going to do it for this edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast. Thank you. I wanted to say a special shout out to Deep Puck _ the Beast and Pino Drummer Boy _ Zay joining me here on the Instagram Live as well. Guys, like I said, if you guys want to follow me on social media, definitely do so. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Richey. The Mass Steel Podcast on Twitter is simply put at Mass Steel CGR. They can also follow me on Instagram at Mass Steel Nation. And more importantly, before I get ready to close out here, I know we got the holidays coming up. Just want to make sure everyone continues to stay safe, get ready for a nice Thanksgiving, and with your families, to continue to stay safe and make the wise choices and decisions. As always, leave you. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Let's get this win today versus Jaguars. I gone.
Hey, you blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink. I got you. Let's go.